Hi, let me take you on this virtual tour of our project. In short, here at KIT we're building fast and radiation-hard silicon detectors for the upgrade of the CMS experiments at CERN LHC. But let's go through this step by step.
Here you see an aerial view of the area around Geneva, Switzerland, where CERN is located. The LHC, or Large Hadron Collider, is one of the biggest machines ever built. In a tunnel with about 27 kilometers circumference, protons and heavier ions are accelerated and then smashed on each other at the highest energies we can get in a lab today. CMS is one of the 4 large multi-purpose particle physics experiments at the LHC. CMS follows the usual design paradigm for such a collider detector. It has the shape of a large barrel that is 25 meters in length and 15 meters high with the beam pipe going through the symmetry axis. From the inside out, there are devices for charged particle tracking, then calorimetry. Both tracking detectors and calorimeters are immersed in a strong magnetic field. Outside the field coil, there is the return yoke of the magnet with detectors to identify muons. CMS has been taking data for more than 10 years now, and it's about time to replace some major parts of it in what we call the Phase 2 upgrade. This has to do with the aging of the detector materials, but also with the higher demands that the LHC will have after its own upgrade to the high luminosity LHC in 2027. Now, some of these upgrades are already in place. Others require a long maintenance period that is currently scheduled for 2025 and 2026. One of these projects is to replace the entire tracking detector. The CMS tracking detectors are made of silicon pixel and microstrip sensors. Replacing them is a major endeavor. At KIT, we deal with what we call the outer tracker. That is the part of the tracker that is between 20 and 110 centimeters away from the beam pipe. The outer tracker is made of 13,000 individual detector modules. These modules have a key feature. They can select tracks with large transverse momentum, or PT, all by themselves. That's why we call them PT modules. The idea is rather simple. The lower the PT a particle has, the stronger it is bent in the magnetic field. If you place 2 silicon sensors directly behind each other, low PT particles that pass both of them lead to a different pit pattern than high PT particles. The module contains fast electronics that can detect these differences. This little virtual tour will be about how we build and test about 2,000 PT modules here at KIT. We start with the sensitive elements of the detectors, the silicon strip sensors. They are processed on 6-inch high-purity silicon wafers with a thickness of about 300 micrometers. The sensors are 10 by 10 square centimeters with about 2,000 implanted strips which identify where the particles hit the sensor plane. When we zoom into a corner of the sensor, one can see the individual strips as well as alignment marks, strip numbers, and structural details better explained in this drawing. The sensitive and depleted volume of the sensors is surrounded by a guard ring to protect the sensor from damage at the diced edge. The inner ring is the bias ring, which distributes the ground potential. Resistors made from polysilicon connect the strip implants with the bias ring. DC pads allow to connect the strip implants, while AC pads connect metal strips above the implanted strips, separated by few hundred nanometers of silicon dioxide. P-stop rings guarantee the isolation between the strips. The sensors are produced following our designs and specifications at a specialized company. The sensors are tested at the company, and we perform sample qualification on arrival of the sensors. This is performed in probe stations, using needle probes, high-precision measurement devices, and automated positioning stages. Here, we see an operator placing a sensor on the movable and temperature-controlled probe station chuck. Vacuum is applied to the sensor backside to keep it in place during the measurement. Probe holders are used to precisely place the 4 micrometer thin needle tips on dedicated pads on the strips. For the electrical characterization, the sensor strips must be contacted individually. Our self-developed measurement software automatically scans the sensor strip by strip. Testing all 2000 strips of the sensor takes about 8 hours. As an example, this figure illustrates the sensor leakage current in dependence of the applied voltage for 2 different sensors. The good sensor, in green, shows a stable current up to 1000 volts. In contrast, the bad sensor, in blue, has a strong current increase, also referred to as a breakdown, for voltages above 500 volts. Due to the high current, such a sensor cannot be used for module assembly and is therefore rejected. We also have access to irradiation facilities to induce radiation damage the sensors or electronic components will receive during the operation at the experiment. The compact cyclotron of the company ZAG on campus north of the KIT provides 23 megaelectron-volt protons, which are used to irradiate many different components. Samples are placed inside an insulated box, which is flushed with cold nitrogen gas and scanned in front of the beam pipe. Several installed cables allow operation of electronics during irradiations. This irradiation service is also offered to collaborators, mainly from the particle physics community. Irradiation tests with hadrons are also complemented by purely ionizing radiation. Therefore, specific smaller test structures are irradiated in our X-ray tube. In order to ensure that the irradiation is homogeneous, the test structures are driven through the X-ray beam in a meander-shaped pattern. A usual irradiation for the CMS sensor production takes roughly 1 day per sample. Afterwards, the test structures are characterized in the probe stations again. The assembly of the modules takes place in a newly renovated and enlarged clean room on the KIT Campus North. On more than 100 square meters, the complete assembly line, test stations and machines find their place. Here, you see the general sequence of the module assembly. 2 silicon strip sensors form the heart of the module. Their backside is isolated with polyamide strips. The 2 sensors are then placed on top of each other, separated by bridges made of carbon fiber reinforced aluminium. The electronic boards consist of a dense flex circuit glued on carbon fiber plates called hybrids. One of the hybrids is responsible for the data transmission via an optical link and to power the module. 2 front-end hybrids contain the readout chips, which amplify the signals generated in the silicon sensors. Before they are glued onto the bare module, these hybrids are connected to each other, forming an object that can already be tested on its functionality. The hybrids are then glued to the sensor sandwich and are connected to the sensor strips using thin wires. These wire bonds are finally protected by a silicone-based encapsulation. Now, we start with the details of the assembly process. When the sensors are taken out of their envelopes, they are first visually inspected and the dicing accuracy is measured. Afterwards, the sensor backside, which is kept at the high voltage of up to 800 volts, must be isolated with polyamide strips from the support bridges on which they are later glued on. The sensors are placed face down on a precise gluing jig, which is then placed below a dispensing gantry. The dispensing gantry is required to apply a well-defined glue pattern on the sensor backside. The isolation is made by gluing 25 micrometer thin polyamide strips to the sensor backside, using a radiation-hard epoxy resin with a very low viscosity. After the pattern is applied, the gluing jig is removed from the dispensing gantry to attach the polyamide strips. Pickup tools hold the strips and place them precisely on the sensor backsides. Afterwards, the glue spreads by capillary forces, forming a very thin glue layer of less than 10 micrometers. To connect the high voltage potential to the silicon backsides, so-called HV tails are attached at the same step. It takes 24 hours before the glue is fully cured, and the assembly continues by electrically connecting the HV tails with the sensor backside using wire bonds. This connection is protected with a drop of silicone-based encapsulation material. The next step towards a functional 2S module is the assembly of the sensor sandwich, called Bayer module. Only the precise assembly of the two sensors with respect to each other allows a good PT discrimination. A precise gluing fixture is required, in which the first sensor is placed face down onto a conductive Teflon surface. The sensor is pushed against 3 alignment pins, and the contact with the pins is verified with the microscope above. Afterwards, the position is fixated by applying a vacuum below. The basic holding and cooling structure of a 2S module are carbon fiber reinforced aluminum bridges. These bridges have a coefficient of thermal expansion very close to silicon, which reduces mechanical stress while cooling the module down. They are covered with epoxy resin, which has a filling to increase its thermal conductivity and is thus reducing the thermal resistance between the silicon sensor and cooling circuitry. The bridges are positioned on the bottom sensor using alignment pins. Then the top sensor is placed on the bridges, this time facing upwards. This step requires very calm hands to avoid any damage on the silicon sensor edges. Once placed, the top sensor is pushed against the same alignment pins the bottom sensor already has contact with. And again, this is verified with the microscope. After 24 hours, the glue is fully cured and the module can be placed on its carrier for protection and to move to the next step. Here, the parallelism of the two sensors is verified in a dedicated measurement system. With a precise, laser-based distance measurement, the alignment of two sensor edges is measured. To assure a well-working particle discrimination, the tilt between the two sensors must be less than 40 micrometers along the sensor edges. The next step in the assembly sequence is the attachment of the readout electronics. The attachment of the electronics is made with another gluing fixture, in which the Bayer module is positioned using alignment pins. After a few dots of glue are applied on the bridges, the complete electronics is lowered carefully on the Bayer module and afterwards positioned with the alignment pins. The glue joints are secured with magnetic pushers. The alignment of the assembly is checked with a microscope mounted above. The silicon sensors are connected to the readout channels with a technique called wire bonding. The module is placed on a special fixture, which is then mounted inside an industrial bonding machine. A bond is a 20 micrometer thin aluminium wire, which is welded onto pads using an ultrasonic head. The wire bonds are approximately 4.5 millimeters long and placed with a distance of 90 micrometers. The last assembly step involves the protection of these wire bond rows. Again, the dispensing gantry is used to apply the silicone-based encapsulation material onto the modules. In 2 consecutive days, this is done for the top and bottom side of the modules. The material is cured after 24 hours, which allow to perform a functional test of the module. For testing of the module functionality, each module is installed in a dedicated test setup. To read out the module, an optical fiber has to be connected to the module electronics, allowing to transmit the module data to the off-detector readout hardware. 2 additional cables provide the silicon sensor biasing voltage and the voltage needed for the readout chips to be operated. Additionally, custom designed boards called Kira are installed below and above the 2 sensors. Each Kira board provides 8 infrared LEDs, allowing to illuminate all sensor strips and probe the whole module readout chain for every individual strip. After closing the aluminium testing box, the module can be powered and functional tests can be started. After performing an offset calibration to ensure a uniform response of all module channels, the noise of each channel is measured individually. The plot shows the noise value measured for each channel on one module. Each channel yields the expected noise at around 1000 electrons, and channel faults are detected. Most channel faults, like for example sensor scratches connecting 2 neighboring strips or unconnected wire bonds, lead to a significant change in the noise level of the affected channels. During the infrared illumination of the sensors, all channels yield a high response, leading to the conclusion that the tested module is fully functional. With this, we conclude our virtual tour. If you're interested to know more about our projects, or if you want to join the team, please contact us on etp.kit.edu.